Welcome to Sweet Tea with the Classics, the podcast that takes classic literature and gives it a Southern twist. Join me, Sweet Tea, as we go through some old favorites in a new accent. Love and Friendship by Jane Austen, Letter the 12th, Laura in continuation. You may imagine how greatly we were surprised by the sudden departure of Lord St. Clair. "Ignoble grandsire!" exclaimed Sophia. "Unworthy grandfather," said I, and instantly fainted in each other's arms. How long we remained in this situation I know not, but when we recovered, we found ourselves alone, without either Gustavus, Philander, or the banknotes. As we were deploring our unhappy fate, the door of the apartment opened, and MacDonald was announced. He was Sophia's cousin. The haste with which he came to our relief so soon after receipt of our note spoke so greatly in his favor that I hesitated not to pronounce him at first sight a tender and sympathetic friend. Alas, he little deserved the name, for though he told us that he was much concerned at our misfortunes, yet by his own account it appeared that the perusal of them had neither drawn from him a single sigh or induced him to bestow one curse on our vindictive stars. He told Sophia that his daughter depended on her returning with him to Macdonald Hall, and that as his cousin's friend, he should be happy to see me there also. To Macdonald Hall, therefore, we went, and were received with great kindness by Janetta, the daughter of Macdonald and the mistress of the mansion. Janetta was then only 15, naturally well disposed, endowed with a susceptible heart and a sympathetic disposition. She might, had those amiable qualities been properly encouraged, have been an ornament to human nature, but unfortunately her father possessed not a soul sufficiently exalted to admire so promising a disposition, and had endeavored by every means in his power to prevent it increasing with her years. He had actually so far extinguished the natural noble sensibility of her heart as to prevail on her to accept an offer from a young man of his recommendation. They were to be married in a few months, and Graham was in the house when we arrived. We soon saw through his character. He was just such a man as one might have expected to be the choice of Macdonald. They said he was sensible, well-informed, and agreeable. We did not pretend to judge of such trifles, but as we were convinced he had no soul, that he had never read the Sorrows of Werter, and that his hair bore not the least resemblance to auburn, we were certain that Janetta could feel no affection for him, or at least that she ought to feel none. The very circumstance of his being her father's choice, too, was so much in his disfavor, that had he been deserving her in every other respect, yet that of itself ought to have been a sufficient reason in the eyes of Janetta for rejecting him. These considerations we were determined to represent to her in their proper light, and doubted not of meeting with the desired success of one naturally so well disposed, whose errors in the affair had only arisen from a want of proper confidence in her own opinion and a suitable contempt of her father's. We found her, indeed, all that our warmest wishes could have hoped for. We had no difficulty to convince her that it was impossible she could love Graham, or that it was her duty to disobey her father. The only thing at which she rather seemed to hesitate was our assertion that she must be attached to some other person. For some time she persevered in declaring that she knew no other young man for whom she had the smallest affection, but upon explaining the impossibility of such a thing, she said she believed she did like Captain McHenry better than anyone else she knew besides. This confession satisfied us, and after having enumerated the good qualities of McHenry and assured her that she was violently in love with him, we desired to know whether he had ever in any wise declared his affection to her. "So far from having ever declared it, I have no reason to imagine that he has ever felt any for me," said Janetta. "That he certainly adores you," replied Sophia, "there can be no doubt. The attachment must be reciprocal. Did he never gaze on you with admiration, tenderly press your hand, drop an involuntary tear, and leave the room abruptly?" "Never," replied she, "that I remember. He has always left the room, indeed, when his visit has been ended, but he has never gone away particularly abruptly or without making a vow." "Indeed, my love," said I, You must be mistaken, for it is absolutely impossible that he should ever have left you but with confusion, despair, and precipitation. Consider but for a moment, Janetta, and you must be convinced how absurd it is to suppose that he could ever make a bow or behave like any other person. Having settled this point to our satisfaction, the next we took into consideration was to determine in what manner we should inform McHenry of the favorable opinion Janetta entertained of him. We at length agreed to acquaint him with it by an anonymous letter, which Sophia drew up in the following manner. "Oh, happy lover of the beautiful Janetta! Oh, amiable possessor of her heart, whose hand is destined to another! Why do you thus delay a confession of your attachment to the amiable object of it? Oh, consider that a few weeks will at once put an end to every flattering hope that you may now entertain, by uniting the unfortunate victim of her father's cruelty to the execrable and detested Graham. Alas, why do you thus so cruelly connive at the projected misery of her and of yourself, by delaying to communicate that scheme which had doubtless long possessed your imagination? A secret union will at once secure the felicity of both." The amiable McHenry, whose modesty, as he afterward assured us, had been the only reason of his having so long concealed the violence of his affection for Janetta, on receiving this billet, flew on the wings of love to Macdonald Hall, and so powerfully pleaded for his attachment to her who inspired it, that after a few more private interviews, Sophia and I experienced the satisfaction of seeing them depart for Gretna Green, which they chose for the celebration of their nuptials in preference to any other place, although it was at a considerable distance from Macdonald Hall. Adieu, Laura. Thank you for spending time with us at Sweet Tea with the Classics. We hope you enjoyed your visit. Like, share, and subscribe for more. And remember, when life hands you lemons, slice them up and put them in your tea.